So hello everyone. Thank you for joining us on our Peer Mentor Recommend sessions. Today's session we'll be talking a bit about how to manage your time while studying online. So I'll start quickly by introducing the Peer Mentor scheme and then introducing the mentees that we've got with us. The mentors we've got with us. So the Peer Mentor scheme is a scheme done by the university to help students settle in. So we've got a friendly face in the university, like we're students, all of us are students that you can come up to with any concerns that you might have, and we'll guide you on how to solve them. We'll signpost you where you need to go, or we'll just have a quick chat with you and what we'd advise you to do. The way that you could find us typically in university would be at the Career Studio, but since everything's online now, you'll find us on Handshake. So you can go on Handshake and search up peer mentors and then just sign up with any of us. There are so many mentors that you can choose from. And then upon signing up with us, you just have to sign a quick form, and then after that, we're all yours for any questions. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Myrna. I'm final year international business student, and I'm an international student. And we've got Lucky and Christopher with us today. If you guys want to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Lucky and I'm a third year biomedical sciences student at the University of Liverpool and I'm a mentor.
Hello everyone, my name is Christopher. I'm a third year law student and I'm also a peer mentor.
Right, so we'll go on with our topic of the session now. So we'll have Lucky introduce to us some ways which have helped her manage her time while studying online.
So today I'll be sharing some of the ways that I use to manage my time effectively while studying online. So I have come up with 4 tips. So they are weekly planner, prioritization, using a timer, and creating a balance. As we are studying, most of our lectures are online, so there's a flexibility in studying online. So it's very important to plan ahead. So a weekly planner will really help you to set your own deadlines and to be aware which tasks you need to complete over a week. So you might use like a notebook, a bullet journal, or like a digital weekly planner to help you with your weekly planning. And the important part of weekly planning is that it helps you to track, so you can see which assignments you have completed and which assignments you still need to complete. And then it also gives you it makes you aware of the tasks that for the whole week. So weekly planner, the difference between weekly planner and daily planner is that in a daily planner, you're more focusing on one day. Rather with weekly planning, you actually have the whole week in your mind and you know which tasks to complete first and which one to complete later. It also helps you to finish your task efficiently. So the second tip is to prioritization, to order your tasks, because as we are studying online, we might have several deadlines in one week. So after you have created your weekly planner, you need to now order your tasks. So sometimes it's very easy and obvious to prioritize your tasks. For example, if assessment B is due in 2 weeks' time, assessment A is due in four days. So obviously you are going to start assessment A first, and then after you've done assessment A, you're going to move on to assessment B. And also a very good one to avoid deadline clashes. So you might have many deadlines in 1 week, so you want to finish every task before the deadline. And ordering your tasks also helps you to create a balance between work and your personal life. And tip number 3 is using a timer. I've recently started using a timer. It really helps you to allow you to keep track of your time, and you can set your own deadline and you know which task is taking more of your time. And by having a timer, you are less prone to have you can avoid distractions. So you know that in an hour I have to complete this task and move on to another one. So using a timer is very good one to be more productive. And the last one is to create a balance. As we're studying online, the advantage is that we are more independent and we can set our own time to study. And so we need to be consistent with our work and study, and also to look after yourself. And then you need to allow yourself breaks between your study sessions. And it is also important to keep fit and healthy, and to ask for help when you need it. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for listening. So I'll pass on to another peer mentor. Is it Chris?
That was great, Lucky. Just before Chris starts his section, I think you're right. I think finding a balance is so important at the moment, isn't it? Obviously, all those techniques you mentioned are so useful for when we are actually working. But myself and Myrna at the start of the session were just talking about how it's difficult to kind of identify what day of the week you're on. Because it all just blurs into one. So if you can use those techniques, I'd just say to students, if you can use the techniques that Lucky has kind of identified, it will help you to kind of see between those blurred lines of when the morning starts and when the day ends, and when the week starts and the weekend finishes. It's just a nice way of you kind of compartmentalizing everything that you're doing. So yeah, and they were lovely slides as well. Thanks. Chris, sorry, hand over to you.
Thank you. One thing that I would like to share with you is that one of the main things that we need to keep in mind now as students that have to study from home is self-discipline when it comes to our studies. And this is because now that we have to work from home, there is a bit of less pressure to actually engage in university work as before. Before we had mandatory lectures that we had to attend at a specific time on a specific day. But now for some of us, we get lecture recordings that we don't necessarily specific day. So there's a bit more freedom there, but that also comes with a downside in that we may feel like we don't necessarily need to do it at a specific time. And as a result, we may leave it till the last minute, which is not really a great idea if you have a lot of other work to do. And also the fact that we work from home means that the number of distractions that are basically right in front of us is huge. We now we have a TV, we have video games, we have our phones. That is not something that you have in a lecture hall. And so I think our ability to stay focused and concentrate in the work, I think, has been dramatically affected. And this is why I think it's important to have some sort of schedule that you can help that you can use to help yourself find a balance between the amount of time that you're supposed to be spending on doing university work and your free time. Yeah, as I have mentioned, this year there's not mandatory timetables of lectures, and so it's very easy to get into the routine of thinking I can do it later, I can do it tomorrow, and spend 1 or 2 days doing something completely irrelevant to your studies. And that's why I think it's very important to have a plan for each day of how much work and how much time you're going to spend doing work. You don't necessarily need to plan, have a plan for every hour for the whole day, but I think it's important to have a specific time slot dedicated to study during the day and be very strict about it. Otherwise, you may find yourself in a situation where you do very little work and spend most of your time on watching, for example, TV or on video games. And this leads to my other point that it's very important to have a routine now. For example, in the previous years, if you had a lecture at 9 a.m., you'll wake up at 8 a.m. and get ready for the day. But now that we don't necessarily have to do the lectures that early, we may sometimes think, oh, you can just sleep until midday. But if you think about it, if you do that, you basically lost 4 hours that you could spend studying, and you won't necessarily get that time back.
Chris, I think that's a really good point. And for those who'll be watching, and I know we've a few students in the session. I will say we did a session yesterday about this. So it was about routine, but it was also about engaging online. So how you can kind of adapt your routine to engage online more, and how that kind of has it has an effect on your routine as well. So as Chris just said, if you know that you can access a lecture anytime, you might decide to get up later. But I think we need to start adapting our routines to this online learning, because eventually, even vocationally, a lot of work patterns are going to change and may require us to work at home more. So if you can get into a good routine now with your studies, it'll put you in a good position for when you get, your dream job, your graduate role. Because, as I say, it will be different. There'll be maybe potentially less time in the office, even after COVID. The work-life balance will change. So if you can get into that routine now, it's really good preparation. So yeah, I would definitely echo what Chris just said about, getting up early. Obviously, you might not do it every day, depending on how much you did the day before. If you give yourself a little bit of flexibility, but I think as much as you can, it's worth it.
If there's one last thing I could add, I think what Chris and Loki have said, like, were absolutely amazing. But if there's one last thing I'd add is that, like, honestly, from my experience, it's very important when you set all these goals that you're realistic, so as to like avoid burning out. So if you set so many goals on one day and you do a lot of things, the second day you could wake up like very tired, and then a week has passed and you've fallen off schedule because you've gotten overwhelmed. So just make sure that you actually really do take time out for yourself, because it's very hard for all of us right now with all the changes and everything. So it's important that you just set yourself straight. Don't overdo it, don't underdo it, just do it at the right amount, and try not to overwhelm yourself so as to not put yourself completely off studying. And yeah, that's all.
That's such a good point, Myrna, because I think we're all guilty of that, aren't we? If we've got a lot on, sometimes you get up in the morning, you'll set so many goals for the day that just aren't realistic. But sometimes you make yourself do it, and then you get that burnout feeling, don't you, for the remaining days? I think, that's a good point. So just try and be realistic with your goals and prioritize that. It goes back to prioritizing, doesn't it? You could use like a flag system. So, red would be, urgent, amber, medium, and green, you've got a few weeks to complete that. So I think it's worth prioritizing things if you've got a lot on. I don't know if anyone else has got anything to add. Anything else? Emma, have you got any tips on routine? Emma, I think you might be on mute, I think. Or am I on mute?
Sorry, I was on mute. It was me. Sorry, it was me. I think it's just to reiterate what everyone else has said. It's very much an individual thing. We all have ways and means of running our daily routines. And it's just about, trying to not get into those lazy habits that are so easily done when there isn't much else to do outside the house. You're indoors a lot, you're looking at your computer all day long, you're socializing through your computer, you're working through your computer. So, getting into that mindset can kind of knock your routines out. So it's just about, taking time away and focusing, and just trying to get up in the morning, do things that you would have normally done before lockdown. I think that's the biggest bit of advice I could give.
Yeah, I think that's true as well, and almost try and view your surroundings as being in work. So, if you get up, don't think about things you've got to do in your immediate surroundings, because if you weren't there, it wouldn't get done anyway. I think Chris touched on this. You can easily get distracted, can't you, with what's around you, whether that's like entertainment, as in watching the television, or I think you mentioned like computer games, or housework, or if you've got like deliveries. I don't know, there's so many things. Do them when you would have done them previously. If you do find you've got a bit of free time, of course, you know, that's what's great about working from home. If you've got a few hours where you know you can finish early or start a bit later, if you've got something that really is, you know, taking priority, then give yourself that flexibility. But yeah, just try and stick to as much of a routine as possible. And I think also for me, it's about trying to break the computer as much as you can. So maybe like try and avoid being on your phone of an evening as well. If you know you're doing so much studying online, try and make yourself not look at the screen of an evening, which is easier said than done. You know, but I think we're all guilty of it, aren't we? And probably more so at the moment because we're all stuck in. But try and do something else to take your mind off things. I think that's it from me.
Good advice, Kate.
Lucky, when you're putting your routine together, do you use any like anything online? Are there any particular sites you use or apps or anything like that? Lucky, I think you're on mute. Do you know what? Teams is just such a pain for muting people. It does it all the time. You don't realise you pressed it.
So I was saying that sometimes I use Excel.
Yeah,
Now I moved to notebooks because it's more of like a therapy when you tick something that you've done. It's like, okay, I've done it. So I use a bullet journal. So you can also create your own plan. But there are so many templates available, easily available on Google. So
I know you mentioned the bullet journal element, and I know a lot of people do enjoy using that. I used to work with someone who did bullet journals, and also, I mean, there's so many ways you can do a bullet journal. You could do it like actually in a notepad, or you could use like the online platforms as well, which I think is really good. As you say, there's nothing better than ticking something off a list. I think is that it then? Has everyone kind of shared their kind of main points?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I suppose it's just reiterating then that the peer mentors are available on Handshake. So please get in touch with them. We've got our Twitter page at as well. We use that to communicate with the wider university. So hopefully you've heard about us. If not, please follow us. And we share lots of information on there as well. Okay, so thank you. Thanks to the mentors.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us.